With a year quickly coming to a close, I wanted to do an exercise this holiday season to introspect on what 2022 brought in terms of wins and losses, in terms of my personal life, my career, the content that I'm putting out there, my investments, my goals. Overarchingly, 2022 has been a tough year, there's no doubt about that. But as I was going through this exercise of pros and cons, I realized that there's a lot of silver linings, especially when I looked at the factors that are within my control. That's where this video comes in. I wanted to do a similar exercise for SoFi, and because everybody can see the stock price, everybody sees that it's down over 70%, and the majority of people are just going to discount that with saying SoFi is insert negative sentiment here. But the simple fact of the matter is that there are some factors that are outside of the company's control for their stock price being where it is. There's macro, there's sentiment, there's emotions, there's psychology in the market in the short term, and all of this is discounting the silver linings that the company has achieved that are within their control. So in this video, to wrap the year up, I want to do a full 2022 recap of over 40 different SoFi pieces of news, and after that jump straight into over 20 new predictions for 2023. Let's jump right into it. After doing this exercise earlier today, I realized that this was a huge year for SoFi in terms of their execution of their underlying business. I posted all of my findings in a Twitter post, which I'll attach in the description if you're more of a reader or you want to dive deeper into it. This is just a cleaned up version of that Twitter thread. Also, if you're not following me on Twitter, please make sure to do so, as periodically I'll drop big threads such as this one. So I'll just go through this post. As of this writing, SoFi is down over 70% year to date, yet unlike what the stock price might suggest, 2022 was a huge year for Anthony Noto and the team at SoFi, and much of it has gone unnoticed. With new headlines every day, it's tough to look back at all we've achieved, especially as 2022 was a year where the company was heads down, building behind the scenes and laying the foundation that's going to carry them much, much higher. So here's all the SoFi major news broken out by month. January was really solidified with the company becoming a chartered bank. On January 18th, the OCC granted SoFi approval for a bank charter. This is a video where we covered it live immediately one day after that happened. February was a big month for SoFi. On the 2nd of February, they completed the acquisition of Golden Pacific Bancorp. On the 7th, they introduced margin trading for their members. And on February 22nd, they announced an agreement to acquire Technisys, which, as we know, has become a huge pillar of their technology platform. That acquisition completed on March the 3rd. On Feb 24th, SoFi launched checking and savings, and this was completely powered by that bank charter which they gained a month earlier. On March, they reported earnings beating on the top and the bottom line. Galileo hit 100 million accounts, and Anthony Noto started to DCA into SoFi stock. And also in March, SoFi offered the no-fee crypto purchases for direct deposit members. This was what eventually got them into some hot water back in November with the US Senate Banking Committee, because this was essentially seen as an expansion of their crypto business when they were supposed to be winding that business down. And of course, as we've been covering SoFi every single week, every single month throughout this year, all of these have some video attachment with deeper dives into the stock. In April, they introduced 1.25 APY for direct deposit members, and 3 board members, including Clay Wilkes, stepped down from the board of directors. Clay Wilkes, if you'll remember, was the founder of Galileo. On the 18th of April, SoFi launched a 3% cashback on credit card for their checking and savings members. So you're seeing these benefits come in for checking and saving direct deposit members. I did a video on stock-based compensation, as this was a hot topic during that time in April, as many investors were really concerned around how much executives at SoFi were being compensated. In May, the company reported their first quarter earnings, again beating on the bottom line, beating on the top line by a pretty big margin, 321 million versus 285 million expected by analysts for revenue. I did a Q1 deep dive, it's all attached here. As I mentioned before, this is all going to be attached in the description. In June, they introduced extended hours trading. Anthony Noto stopped DCAing into the stock and went on a 6-month buying pause on June the 16th. Galileo had a partnership with Fundbox to expand payment capabilities. They also had a partnership with Flip, introducing this banking as a service functionality, which, as we know, would become a staple for the technology platform. In July and August, they raised that APY from 1.25 to 1.8 for direct deposit members. They also reported their second quarter financial earnings, beating on the bottom line, beating on the top line. This is a trend for 2022 for SoFi. They were also consistently raising guidance throughout all of these earnings reports. Throughout August, SoftBank unloaded their SoFi position. This was as a result of SoftBank having some poor financial results themselves and being forced to liquidate their SoFi position. Coincidentally, around that same time, SoFi launched two new ETFs, a Web3 ETF and a Smart Energy ETF, and Biden announced the student loan forgiveness, pushing the moratorium one final time, supposedly, until December 31st of this year. This was actually really bullish news for SoFi because everybody was perceiving Biden's one final push as the resumption of student loans on January 1st, which, as we know, if you've been following along, that got pushed even further. In September, Galileo appointed David Foyer as the chief product officer. They also partnered with DataVisor, and SoFi also partnered with Blink, expanding their insurance capabilities into cyber insurance. Later that month, SoFi also released their new On the Money financial education portal. Galileo had a website revamp, and SoFi increased their APY from 1.8 to 2%. Coming into October, they launched SoFi Plus. This is their subscription offering. This is something that I was mega bullish on because in my bull thesis, it's what will eventually unite all of the different offerings that SoFi has into a single core that will cause the network effects between SoFi's value propositions. On October 11th, Galileo partnered with Visa for their Visa Ready certification to offer payments card as a service API. This was a huge partnership because now Galileo is on Visa's platform and they can cross-sell. Galileo also had a couple of big wins in October with a Wisdom Tree partnership as well as a T. Rowe Price partnership. We covered a lot of these on the SoFi Weekly podcast. I also made videos about it. In November, Galileo added reference material for new releases of fleet cards. These are cards issued for large companies to manage their vehicle fleets and their spending. And they also launched direct deposit switch so that you can directly switch your direct deposit provider into SoFi. On November 11th, the company reported Q3 earnings. You guessed it, beat on the bottom line, beat on the top line. Again, absolutely terrific numbers. They actually were somewhat more bullish than what I was expecting initially. Towards the later half of November, they went into some hot water with the Senate Banking Committee with regards to their crypto business, which we mentioned back in February, March time when they expanded the capabilities into the crypto. Basically, they said you can automate purchases to crypto, and this was something that the Senate Bank Committee took issue with. SoFi very promptly responded to this. And the biggest news in November was the Biden administration further extending that moratorium out until June 2023. Coming into December, SoFi launched options trading. This was much anticipated by the market. Galileo launched a customizable buy now pay later, so the B2B offering. And as I mentioned in this video, the B2C offering was very quickly to follow up. They launched direct deposit December 13th, and one day later on December the 14th, SoFi launches early access to Pay in 4 buy now pay later product, which is B2C, which was powered by Galileo's earlier offering launched on December the 6th. And perhaps one of the biggest pieces of news in December is Anthony Noto reinvigorating all SoFi bulls with a huge $7.5 million purchase of SoFi stock. He did this through, I think, 5 different purchases from December the 9th through December the 17th. And to wrap up 2022, Anthony Noto actually bought SoFi stock on 23 separate occasions. In 2022, I've made over 23 videos dedicated to SoFi, and in October, we also launched the SoFi Weekly podcast, where we talk about the stock every single week. And looking forward into 2023, I believe SoFi is going to continue to improve their offering because the team is meticulous, they're focused, and I believe that this year could be when everything comes together for Anthony Noto and the SoFi team. Here's why laying the groundwork is so important. This is from a Yahoo Finance interview where the host basically asks if 2023 is going to be SoFi's year, and I just want you to listen into Anthony Noto's response.
Anthony, mentioned on the earnings call a little while ago that you haven't really had a year where everything came together. Do you think you have that year next year?
I think from a SoFi operating standpoint, we do. This year was spent transitioning to a bank. Last year was spent transitioning to a public company and navigating the process with a SPAC merger into a public company. The year prior to that, we were still in build out mode on the technology stack platform. Our Galileo and Technisys businesses are doing quite well. And all that time really dealing with a depressed student loan refinancing business because of the federal student loan moratorium. So the economy is definitely volatile and there's a lot of uncertainty. If it stays at a contraction of -2 or -1%, I think we're going to be well positioned to continue to drive great trends. I feel like we're going into the year set up to do, really well and set more records.
Okay, now moving into the prediction side of this video, this was a post from Bender9000, who, if you've been following along, posts a lot of new pieces of news immediately after they come out. A lot of his predictions are actually right on the money, and I agree actually with a lot of them after reading this post. Riley posted this on Twitter as well, but the original post was on Reddit by Bender9000, and it goes into depth. We're actually going to read through this post on 2023 predictions for SoFi. The first one is that there's going to be big wins for the tech platform. SoFi has been courting a rich pipeline of tech platform interest from large financial institutions. Once a couple of big firms sign, it will provide confidence and cover for other institutions, potentially starting a flood of SoFi tech platform adoption. He quotes Anthony Noto in the City Conference in September of 2022, which we've also included in a video, where he says, in terms of big wins, the pipeline is pretty rich. We hope to have some wins as we go into 2023 to share with investors. I think we're in a pole position to win these big financial institutions, big bank deals, but it really is going to come down to when they decide to make the transition. This was Anthony Noto who was saying this in a conference earlier this year. The second thing to look forward to is Galileo rolling out new products. We saw direct deposit switch, we saw Pay in 4, which was in partnership with MasterCard, we saw fleet cards, a dispute API, enhanced payment risk system platform. Upcoming products could include Galileo rewards, credit card programs, or Lantern style referrals and loans. Next is improvements on their lending segment. Currently, SoFi writes their own loans. They also match additional loans with partners and refer the remaining requests through Lantern. In September, Anthony Noto announced that SoFi is integrating with an additional partner into lending segment, and SoFi could simultaneously run 3 or 4 underwriting engines against every loan application. And just being a little bit more meticulous overarchingly around how SoFi writes their loans so that they can keep a larger size of the portion without taking an outsized risk. The next thing to look forward to in the coming year is brokered deposits. Q3 was the first quarter that SoFi broke out of their broker deposit segment, showing a $600 million share of SoFi bank deposits. This includes flows from brokered CD offerings and participation in sweep programs. SoFi's broker deposits funding channel is primed for growth. Now, something else to look forward to in 2023 is SoFi expanding into new B2C markets. The past year saw securities licenses approved for SoFi Singapore and public career posts for SoFi UAE teased as coming soon back in 2021. I think it goes without saying that we'd love to see SoFi operate in different geographies. SoFi Bank as a sponsor is the next. Tech platform clients can choose from a wide roster of partner banks, bring their own partner to the platform, or use their own bank charter. Look for SoFi Bank to build a portfolio of sponsored clients. One thing to keep in mind throughout this post as we go along is that this is overarching SoFi's entire business. Some of these points are more so geared towards their lending platform, whereas other points are geared towards benefits, rewards programs. SoFi Travel and other spend better shopping portals, for example, is the next suggestion, with Anthony Noto having touted a coming SoFi Travel shopping portal. A new insurance portal is also currently in rollout, and a general/retail portal is also likely. Members will be able to save by conducting their normal spending through the SoFi shopping portals. And this is something also important that I touched on previously when I was making the 2022 recap with regards to SoFi Plus being at the center of this entire ecosystem. How do you want to spend these rewards? SoFi Travel, the spend better shopping portals are just one way to do that. The next point is around a tech platform marketplace. With Galileo and Technisys now supporting third-party products, clients can build their own products, purchase tech platform products, or utilize third-party products. An example of a third party would include analytics or image processing or messaging or fraud screening, for example. Opportunities include underwriting models, lending platforms such as Pagaya, and marketing platforms. And speaking of expansion, the next point is around options trading. This has been much anticipated with regards to what is offered currently in terms of options. We want more options, no pun intended. We want the ability to sell options and a lot more expansion there. I feel like this is a table stakes point with regards to a comparison between SoFi and some other fintech offerings that have options trading currently. The other point Bender 9000 mentioned here is with regards to home loans, one of the more fascinating points with regards to where the macro economy is in general. SoFi is shopping to vertically integrate home loans, and mortgage firms are on sale. Look for acquisitions. So this could be a really tantalizing point with regards to that one-stop shop aspect, SoFi covering the entire productivity loop to in fact take advantage of the market being where it is. The next point is something that was teased back in October and November with regards to, Elon Musk making that Twitter transition, a SoFi Invest Twitter feed integration. SoFi tested the inclusion of Twitter feeds into SoFi Invest. Since then, Twitter revamped their verified account logic, making SoFi integration more feasible. And as I mentioned, Anthony Noto has been tweeting around a reimbursement for Twitter Blue. Look for SoFi to bring tweets inside of Invest and or a free Twitter Blue promotion with SoFi checking and savings. Now, the free Twitter Blue stuff is one of the benefits that you would expect with SoFi Plus, but the interesting part is if you bring tweets inside SoFi Invest, that's similar to like a StockTwits type of offering or like a public.com type of offering. And what that does is it marries the ability to buy and sell stock or to take a look at your own portfolio with a social media component of that experience as well. With regards to student loans, of course, that is a toss-up right now. It's in the hands of the Senate, and in my personal opinion is that it's going to get pushed back even further outside of June 2023. I feel like that's the best case scenario that we can expect. It's something that I wouldn't even be surprised if it came in 2024, which is not the greatest spot for SoFi as a business to be in if that moratorium keeps getting pushed out and is politicized to the point where it becomes a bargaining chip for politicians. A wild speculation here from Bender, SoFi will eventually sign onto their tech platform, one of the large financial institutions. Bender here is thinking that incumbent banks have a pattern of investing in their infrastructure partners. A large firm committing to a new tech stack may wish to own some of the upside. SoFi is currently trading at a multi-year low, below past private valuations which predate Galileo and Technisys. It seems like an opportunity for a big bank that is upgrading their infrastructure to SoFi's tech platform. So this is actually an interesting point to see a partnership or some type of acquisition in the works with regards to one of these big players, especially considering the valuation that SoFi is trading at and considering the capabilities of their tech platform and how pertinent this will become in the next coming years to legacy platforms, which are basically forced by legislation and innovation to further upgrade their technology platform systems into something that SoFi offers out of the box with Galileo and Technisys. The next point is with regards to credit cards. Members have requested niche cards. SoFi is interested in travel and has surveyed members. There are countless partnership opportunities here with regards to the expansion of SoFi's credit cards. The next point is one that, I'm not too fussed about. A Zelle integration is in the pipeline and it's been requested by members. And so it seems like SoFi is going to go ahead and integrate that. Galileo received a makeover in 2022. Next up, Bender says, is Technisys. But personally, I'm keeping my fingers crossed for the core SoFi app and the SoFi portal itself to get a complete makeover because it's very much in need of one. The next point is a fun one, tax filing. Taxes, I feel like, is one of the most interesting opportunities out there. They're on the roadmap, but the ETA is unknown. This could be through a partnership, some type of white label, or all SoFi in-house. And we've seen SoFi dip their toes in other industries, particularly I'm thinking about insurance, where they just partner with somebody else and then collect a referral fee at the end of that. So for taxes, it could just be something as easy as a QuickBooks integration, or it could be something that SoFi builds in-house and then offers as part of that ecosystem. As you start to see these points, to think outside the box in terms of what they can offer, you start to realize that one-stop shop is really the heart of their entire experience. They can offer taxes, they can offer travel, they can offer shopping with their points, and it all is centered, in my opinion, around that SoFi Plus member. That is really the heart of all of these integrations. The next one is automated investing, which is still in its initial iteration. Look for SoFi automated investing to continue to expand. The next point is a securities income program, which has been offered in SoFi Hong Kong. Look for a stock lending revenue share program for active active invest. The next point here, coming close to the end, is SoFi ETFs. They launched 2 ETFs, the Smart Energy and the Web3 ETF this year. Inflows remain strong despite 2022's market decline. Look for more SoFi ETF advancements. Finally, the last point here is access to private or non-traditional investments. So here Bender is looking at Blackstone in particular, who recently built integration capabilities for online brokers. ARK entered the space, and popular non-traded funds outperformed public markets in 2022. Look for SoFi to offer less liquid investments such as private real estate investment trusts, private credit, and venture. That's also a point that could bring in a lot of new revenue into the space should they choose to expand into that private investment space. And of course, the last point is SoFi is building the future of finance. Expect surprises. I think buy now, pay later in 2022 was a surprise, to me. A lot of their expansions that were powered by the bank charter were definitely surprises to many investors, because this time 12 months ago we didn't really know when that bank charter was going to come, and so expect a lot to happen. The whole goal, just coming back to the beginning of this video, of why I wanted to make this, was to show that the team has been executing, was to show that they've been delivering consistently in terms of their product developments, in terms of their expansion of their offerings, and that there is a lot to look forward to in 2023. But if I can leave you with one single thought as you take a look and do your own research, of course, it is to focus on what are the things that this business and this team can control. They cannot control the macro, they can't control the market sentiment out there, they can't control psychology or human emotion in the short term, being very greedy or very fearful. But what they can control is consistently delivering on their promises, consistently expanding their product offerings, listening to their customer base, and innovating further and further. So I'm pretty excited in terms of what SoFi has in 2023. I'm going to be making videos about it consistently on this channel. I'm going to be aiming to make more videos about SoFi in the coming year, so definitely look forward to those. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. For right now, this is the Fundamentals Investing Podcast. Thank you so much for listening.